Damn, racism sure is expensive. So much winning, huh? So much winning. You've spent so much time being racist and white supremacists and demonizing immigrants while voted for a white man who's a convicted felon who knew that he wouldn't pay any attention to the economy.
So 22,000 jobs is the best that the old man from Florida can do. That is not great again.
Jobs report, 22,000 jobs. Worst jobs report since 2008. This was after they fired the person that did the last month, which was 77,000. 22,000. Are we great yet?
We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Wait till you see the boom that this country goes through in 5 or 6 months from now with all of the things that are happening. Car plants are getting ready to start built. They're going to be built by record numbers.
We have some huge news right now, horrible economic news for the United States of America right now, as the unemployment rate in America has hit a 4-year high at 4.6%, according to new statistics released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. 7.8 million Americans are now without a job. When you look at the job market over the past 2 months, in October, the United States lost more than 100,000 jobs. In November, we rebounded, gained more than 50,000 jobs, but still a net loss over the past 2 months. The exact numbers were losing 105,000 jobs, gaining 64,000 jobs.
Trump promised a booming economy. Instead, the worst job growth in over 20 years, protests erupting nationwide, and an administration desperately trying to distract you with lies. The numbers are in, they're ugly, and this is the moment a lot of Americans are realizing something is very, very wrong. Stay with me, because this is bigger than politics. This is about your money, your future, and your country. Alright, welcome back to Breaking Supporters. If you're new here, this is the place where we cut through the spin, we look at the facts, and we talk about what's actually happening in this country, no matter how uncomfortable it makes the powerful. If you agree that Americans deserve the truth, smash that like button right now. It helps this video reach more people. And if you want daily, no BS coverage of what's happening in the United States, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because today, we've got breaking economic news, protests across the country, and an administration that looks scared, and for good reason. Let's start with the headline numbers. The U.S. economy dreadfully underperformed in the last quarter of 2025. And I'm not using that word lightly, dreadfully. Unemployment is up since Trump took office. Inflation is up since the so-called Liberation Day tariffs. Job growth has fallen off a cliff. And all of this is happening while Americans are already on edge, angry about IC abuses, furious about transparency, and fed up with being told not to believe their own eyes. Last night alone, protests erupted outside the White House, in Seattle, Dallas, New York City, and Minneapolis. This isn't isolated. This is an online noise. This is real people in the streets saying, enough. And here's the pattern you need to see. The same administration trying to gaslight you about ICE. The same administration dragging its feet on releasing the Epstein files. The same administration hiding Trump's health details is now trying to soft pedal or distract from catastrophic economic data. That's not a coincidence. Let's talk facts. Before the final numbers even dropped, economist Heather Long warned that 2025 was shaping up to be the worst year for job growth outside of a recession since 2003. She estimated maybe 700,000 jobs added all year, which would already be a disaster. But guess what? The final number wasn't 700,000. It was 584,000 jobs total for all of 2025. Let that sink in. That's the worst non-recession job growth year in over 2 decades. And it gets worse. In December alone, only 50,000 jobs added nationwide. Previous months were revised down. October revised down by 68,000 jobs. November revised down again. This isn't a blip. This is a trend. And nearly 85% of all job growth happened by April, meaning most of it came from economic momentum before Trump's policies fully kicked in. Since April, since Liberation Day, the U.S. has averaged 12,000 jobs per month. Canada, 22,000 jobs per month. That's almost double. If you're wondering whether tariffs matter, here's your answer.
Look, I don't know if you all paying attention, TikTok family, but if you're watching the news and you care about what's going to happen to you, And we know TikTok has all these great things and tools, ebooks, and all of this shit and whatnot, quick, easy schemes that they say is so easily to get all this extra money. But if you look and you pay attention, April mass layoffs, I was a part of that. Microsoft laid off 9,000 jobs. This is tech as well, HR and other different positions. Now they're finally officially attacking federal workers. What the hell you think is going to happen?
Now let's get into the comments, because this is where you see how Americans are processing this moment. First comment from Vanessa. America needs a real commander-in-chief, not a predator and a thief. That comment alone tells you how much trust has collapsed. This isn't just about policy, it's about legitimacy. Drop a comment below if you feel that trust in leadership is gone. Next comment. Wait until this weekend. Protests will be nationwide. This is key. People aren't calming down, they're mobilizing. When economic stress meets moral outrage, history tells us what comes next. Another one here. Project 25 is all about bankrupting our country. A lot of viewers are connecting dots between policy choices and outcomes, and that's dangerous for an administration that relies on confusion to survive. Here's an angrier one. They have gone to war against Americans. They are traitors. Now look, that's raw emotion, but it reflects how serious this feels to people. When economic pain hits home, rhetoric escalates fast. And then this comment stood out to me. Look up the corporations that funded Trump. Boycott them all. That's frustration turning into action, whether you agree or not. This shows Americans are looking for leverage. If you agree with any of these comments, or if you completely disagree, drop your thoughts below. I read them, and your debate helps this channel. Grow. Here's the truth no one on cable news wants to say plainly. Trump sold himself as the economy guy. That was the bargain. People tolerated the chaos because they believed he'd deliver prosperity. That bargain is broken. GDP growth is slower. Job growth is weaker. The dollar is down nearly 9% in a year, one of the fastest drops among developed nations. Credit card delinquencies are up. Bankruptcies are rising. Young workers are getting hit the hardest. And inflation, especially healthcare inflation, premiums on ACA plans have more than doubled for millions of Americans. Medicaid cuts are looming. 15 million people could lose coverage.
So Trump supporters, if you're not worried now about the economy, now is the time to be worried. Nebraska, Tyson Foods. They're the largest meat producer in the country. They're closing their Nebraska beef processing plant because of Trump economics. Cattle costs have risen $2 billion because of Trump's tariffs, and it has resulted in a net loss of $425 million in 2025 to date for Tyson Foods. So they're closing their meat packing plant, and 3,200 employees in this small town with only 11,000 residents are losing their jobs. 3,200 employees, and I can guarantee a vast majority voted for this. And it doesn't end there. Tyson is taking their 3-shift slaughter operation in Texas down to 1 shift. So a lot more people at their Texas facility are going to be let go. When you talk about big industries now being affected, not the small guy, but those at the top of the food chain being impacted and closing down, we are in a world of economic hurt. And this is just the beginning, because this Trump administration is not focused on fixing the problem. They keep creating more.
This is an abstract. This is rent. This is groceries. This is medical bills. And when the numbers go bad, what does Trump do? He posts unhinged rants about election fraud. He attacks mail-in voting. He spreads conspiracy theories. Because distraction is the only move left. If you're tired of politicians dodging accountability, smash that like button. It tells the algorithm people want facts, not fearmongering. Here's another comment. 25th Amendment. Don't wait for midterms. That shows panic, but also how desperate people feel for stability. And this one, they called that woman a domestic terrorist. They think we're stupid. That's about credibility. Once people believe they're being lied to repeatedly, nothing in administration says carries weight anymore. Even this simple one: Trump is a disgrace. That sentiment is becoming mainstream, not fringe, and that should terrify it. Yon in power. So what comes next? More economic pressure, more protests, more attempts at distraction, and likely, more radical rhetoric as desperation grows. Historically, when administrations face economic decline and collapsing public trust, they don't suddenly become transparent. They double down. But here's the wild card they didn't plan for. Independent media. Millions of engaged viewers. People sharing clips, discussing facts, organizing in real life. That's why channels like Breaking Supporters matter. If you want to stay informed as this unfolds, subscribe right now. We're covering this every single day. This isn't left versus right anymore. It's accountability versus corruption, truth versus spin, reality versus propaganda. The numbers don't lie. The protests aren't fake. And Americans are waking up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this economy turns around, or are we headed for something much worse? And make sure you're subscribed, because in the next video, we're digging into what these economic numbers mean for the midterms, and why panic inside the White House is growing by the day. I'll see you there.